The coffee was still warm in my hand when I saw her. She couldn't have been more than 9 years old, sitting on the frozen concrete outside the Starbucks on Michigan Avenue, Chicago. December wind cutting through the city like a blade, and there she was, no coat, just a thin sweater with holes in the sleeves, holding a cardboard sign that said, "Please help, my mom is sick." I almost walked past her. I'm ashamed to admit that, but it's the truth. My name is Marcus Webb, 43 years old, CEO of a logistics company worth $200 million. I had a board meeting in 20 minutes, a driver waiting at the curb, a life that moved too fast to stop for anyone, but something about her eyes. They weren't begging, they weren't desperate, they were calm, almost peaceful, like she'd already accepted whatever the world was going to give her. And that broke something inside me. I stopped walking. "Hey," I said. My voice came out rougher than I intended. "Where's your mom?" She looked up at me, no fear, no suspicion, just quiet observation. "She's at the shelter on Halsted Street. She's real sick, mister, can't get out of bed no more." I crouched down to her level. My knees creaked against the cold. Up close, I could see her lips were chapped, blue-tinged. She was shivering so hard her teeth clicked together. "What's your name?" "Lily." "Lily," I repeated. "How long have you been out here?" "Since yesterday morning." 24 hours, a child, in December, in Chicago. The anger that rose in me surprised me, not at her, at everything else. At a world that let this happen, at myself for almost being part of it. "Have you eaten anything?" She shook her head slowly. I stood up and walked into the Starbucks, bought every sandwich they had, 2 hot chocolates, a warm blanket they sold near the register. When I came back out, Lily was still there, still shivering, still holding that sign. I draped the blanket around her shoulders and handed her the hot chocolate. "Drink this." Slowly. She wrapped her small fingers around the cup, took a tiny sip, and then she looked up at me with those impossible eyes. "Mister." "Yeah. I prayed last night. I was so cold and scared, and I asked God to send me an angel. I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. And then you stopped," she continued. "Nobody stops, but you did." I felt something crack open in my chest, something I'd kept locked away for years. "I'm not an angel, Lily." She tilted her head, studied me like she could see straight through my expensive coat and polished shoes. "That's exactly what an angel would say." I laughed, but it came out wet, broken. My phone buzzed, the board meeting, the driver, the life I'd built brick by brick, deal by deal, all of it waiting. But I couldn't move. Because standing there, looking at this little girl wrapped in a blanket that cost $20, holding a hot chocolate that cost $6, I realized something terrifying. I had everything, and I had nothing. "Lily," I said, "I want to meet your mom. Can you take me to her?" She hesitated, just for a moment, then she nodded. "Okay, mister, but she might not be awake. She sleeps a lot now." "That's okay," I said. "I'll wait." She stood up, still clutching the blanket around her shoulders, and started walking, and I followed. The shelter on Halsted Street was nothing like I expected. It was worse. The building had been a warehouse once. Now it was a patchwork of cots and curtains, crowded with people who had nowhere else to go. The smell hit me first. Damp clothes, unwashed bodies, something medicinal underneath it all. Lily walked through like she belonged there, because she did. That thought sat heavy in my stomach. She led me to a corner near the back where a thin curtain offered the illusion of privacy. Behind it, a woman lay on a narrow cot. Her skin was gray, her breathing shallow. She looked like she was already halfway gone. "Mama," Lily whispered. "Mama, wake up, I brought someone." The woman's eyes fluttered open. They were the same as Lily's, that same quiet acceptance. "Baby," she breathed. "You shouldn't have brought strangers here." "He's not a stranger, Mama. He stopped for me. He gave me food." The woman's gaze shifted to me, weak but sharp. "Who are you?" "My name is Marcus, Marcus Webb." Recognition flickered across her face, then faded. "The businessman, I've seen you on the news." "Yes, ma'am." She tried to sit up, couldn't, fell back against the thin pillow. "I don't want your pity, Mr. Webb." "I'm not offering pity." "Then what?" I didn't have an answer, not yet. I just knew I couldn't leave. "What's your name?" "Grace, Grace Mitchell." "Grace," I said. "What happened? How did you end up here?" She closed her eyes. For a moment, I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then she spoke. "I was a nurse, 12 years at Northwestern Memorial, good salary, nice apartment in Lincoln Park. Then I got diagnosed. Stage 3 lymphoma, couldn't work, lost my insurance, lost everything." Her voice cracked. "I tried, Mr. Webb, I tried so hard. But when you're sick and alone, the world doesn't wait for you to get better. It just keeps moving." Lily climbed onto the cot and curled up beside her mother, protective, fierce. "Mama's gonna get better," she said. "I know she is." Grace stroked her daughter's hair with a trembling hand. "My baby girl," she whispered. "She's been taking care of me, going out to beg for money to buy medicine. She shouldn't have to do that. She's just a child." The guilt hit me like a wave. All my life, I'd believed success was earned. that people who struggled just didn't work hard enough, that the system rewarded effort. But standing here looking at a woman who'd done everything right and still lost everything, I realized how wrong I'd been. "Grace," I said, "I want to help, really help, not just hand you money and walk away." She looked at me, searching. "Why, you don't know us." "I know enough." She was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "When my husband died 3 years ago, I made a promise that I would give Lily a good life, that she would never want for anything." Tears slid down her temples into her hair. "I broke that promise, Mr. Webb. Every single day I break it." Lily pressed closer to her mother. "No, Mama, you didn't break anything. You're the best mama in the whole world." And that's when I felt it, the first crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. I didn't go to the board meeting that day. Instead, I made calls, pulled strings, used every ounce of influence I'd accumulated over 20 years in business. By evening, Grace was in a private room at Rush University Medical Center. The best oncologist in the state was reviewing her case. Lily had new clothes, a warm meal, and a bed that didn't sag in the middle. But none of it felt like enough. I sat in the hospital waiting room at 2 a.m., watching the fluorescent lights flicker overhead. My phone had 17 missed calls. My assistant had sent increasingly frantic emails. The board was furious. I didn't care. For the first time in decades, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. "Mr. Webb," I looked up. Lily stood in the doorway wearing pajamas that were too big for her. Her hair was still damp from a bath. "Hey, Lily, what are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep." She walked over and sat beside me. "The bed's too soft, feels weird." I almost laughed, almost. "You'll get used to it, maybe." We sat in silence for a while. The hospital hummed around us, machines beeping, footsteps in distant hallways, the quiet rhythm of a world that never stops moving. "Mr. Webb?" "Yeah. Why are you helping us?" I thought about the question, really thought about it. "Honestly, I don't know, something about you, about your mom. It made me stop, made me see things differently." Lily nodded like that made perfect sense. "My mama says God puts people in our path for a reason, even when we don't understand it." "Your mama sounds smart." "She is. She used to read me stories every night before she got sick, books about heroes and dragons and magic." "What was your favorite?" "The one about the prince who gave up his kingdom to save a village. Mama said that's what real heroes do. They give things away, not take them." I felt those words settle into my bones. "Lily, can I tell you something?" "Okay." I grew up poor, really poor, in a little town in Ohio called Steubenville. My dad left when I was 5. My mom worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. Lily listened, didn't interrupt. "I promised myself I'd never be poor again, so I worked, fought, climbed, until I had everything I thought I wanted. Did it make you happy?" The question hit me harder than it should have. "No," I admitted. "It didn't." She reached over and took my hand. Her fingers were small and warm. "Maybe you were looking in the wrong place. 9 years old, homeless, hungry," and she understood something I'd spent 40 years missing. "Maybe I was," I said. The next morning, the doctor came with news. Grace's cancer was treatable, aggressive but treatable. With the right care, she had a good chance. When I told Lily, she didn't cry, didn't jump up and down. She just looked at me with those quiet eyes and said, "I knew you were an angel." And this time, I didn't argue, because maybe, just maybe, she was the angel, not me. Maybe she was the one who'd been sent to save someone. And that someone was me. 3 months passed. Grace completed her first round of treatment. The tumor was shrinking. Color was returning to her cheeks. She could walk now, laugh, hold Lily without shaking. I visited them every week. Brought books for Lily, flowers for Grace, sat with them for hours, talking about everything and nothing. They became my family. The word surprised me when it first entered my mind. Family. I'd never had one, not really. My mother died when I was 30. I had no siblings, no wife, no children, just an empire built on determination and loneliness. But Grace and Lily, they changed that. One evening, I arrived at the apartment I'd rented for them near the hospital. Lily answered the door, practically vibrating with excitement. "Mr. Marcus, come look, Mama made dinner." I followed her inside. The apartment was modest but warm. Curtains Grace had picked out herself. Lily's drawings taped to the refrigerator. The smell of roast chicken filling the air. Grace stood at the stove, wearing an apron, stirring something in a pot. "You didn't have to cook," I said. She turned and smiled, the first real smile I'd ever seen from her. "I wanted to. It's the least I can do after everything." We ate together at the small kitchen table. Lily chattered about school, about the friends she was making, about the book she was reading. Grace watched her daughter with eyes full of wonder. After dinner, Lily went to her room to do homework. Grace and I sat on the couch, drinking tea. "Marcus," she said, "I need to tell you something." "Okay." She set down her cup, took a breath. "When Lily brought you to that shelter, I wanted to hate you. I thought you were just another rich man looking for a feel-good story, a tax write-off, a photo opportunity. I didn't respond, let her continue. But you kept coming back. You didn't just write checks and disappear. You sat with me during chemo. You helped Lily with her math homework. You became part of our lives. Her voice wavered. I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't have to thank me, Grace. Yes, I do, because you gave me something I'd lost. What's that? Hope. The word hung in the air between us. I'd given up, Marcus. I was ready to die. I'd made peace with it. The only thing that kept me holding on was Lily, and even that was slipping away. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. You didn't just save my life, you gave me a reason to live it. I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. I know you don't believe you're an angel, she continued. But Lily was right. God sent you to us. I believe that with my whole heart. I thought about my life, the deals, the power, the emptiness that had consumed me for so long, and I thought about this woman, this child, this tiny apartment that felt more like home than my penthouse ever had. Grace, I said, I need to tell you something too. She waited. I was lost for a long time. I had everything the world says you're supposed to want, and it meant nothing. I took her hand. You and Lily, you showed me what matters. You saved me too. We sat there holding hands, crying together, two broken people, finding wholeness in each other. A year later, Grace was cancer-free. The doctors called it remarkable, a miracle, some said. I called it the result of world-class care and a fighter's spirit. Lily was thriving in school, top of her class, reading 3 grades above her level. She'd stopped asking when she could go back to the shelter. She'd stopped flinching when someone raised their voice. She'd started dreaming again. And me, I sold my company. I know it sounds insane. A $200 million empire built from nothing, gone in a single decision, but it wasn't impulsive. It was inevitable. The night before I signed the papers, I sat with Lily in her room. She was drawing a picture of a house with a big backyard and a dog. Mr. Marcus. Yeah. Are you happy now? I looked at her drawing. At the sunshine she'd colored in the corner. At the stick figures standing in front of the house. 3 of them, a woman, a girl, a man. Yeah, Lily, I think I am. She smiled and added a 4th figure, a dog with floppy ears. Good, because you deserve to be happy too. The next morning I signed the sale agreement. The lawyers looked at me like I'd lost my mind. My board members tried to talk me out of it, but I knew what I was doing. I used the money to start a foundation. The Lily Grace Foundation, dedicated to helping homeless families get back on their feet. Housing, healthcare, education, everything Grace and Lily had needed and almost didn't get. We opened our first shelter in Chicago 6 months later, then one in Detroit, then Cleveland, then St. Louis. Grace runs the Chicago location now. She's the executive director, oversees everything, makes sure every family that walks through those doors gets the help they need. Lily volunteers on weekends. She reads to the younger kids, tells them stories about heroes and dragons and magic, just like her mama used to tell her. And me, I'm exactly where I belong. Last week, a little boy walked into our Chicago shelter. 8 years old, no coat, holding his baby sister's hand. Their mother had just lost her job. They'd been sleeping in their car for a month. I crouched down to his level, looked him in the eyes. Hey, buddy, what's your name? Tyler. Tyler, you're safe now. We're going to take care of you. He looked at me with suspicion, then hope, then something like relief. Are you an angel? I smiled, thought about Lily, about Grace, about a frozen December morning that changed everything. No, I said, but I know one, and she taught me that sometimes the people who need saving and the people who do the saving, they're the same people. Tyler didn't understand, not yet, but he would, because that's what this work is about, passing it forward, breaking the cycle, proving that one moment of kindness can ripple outward forever. Lily was right all along. Angels aren't sent from heaven with wings and halos. They're regular people who choose to stop, who choose to see, who choose to care. And maybe, just maybe, we all have that choice, every single day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.